What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We are back here on another Friday with you guys. Remember, we do these every single Friday. So if there's any topics that you guys want us to cover, let us know. If there's anything that you want to have a conversation about or anything that you would want to cover even more thoroughly, you want us to research in depth, let us know. We're completely happy to get out there and cover all these topics for you, make sure that you have all the information that you need to make the decisions that you need to make. So that's what these are all about. These talks are all about self-improvement and making us better as men and being better as men, and really kind of how we need to be thinking and how we can improve society as if we become the best men that we can be. Right. And so that's really what this is all about. So today we want to talk a lot about male loneliness, the male loneliness epidemic, and really, like, are men lonely? Really asking ourselves that kind of question. Like, are men really lonely in today's society? I mean, if I ask myself, like, I'm not what I would consider a lonely man, but I think that it's something that could be rising in society, and I can see several reasons why. After I've done a lot of research on this topic, I think that there's really something to it. I think it's something that we can have a real conversation around to really try and improve this and make things better, because there are real consequences to men being lonely, and that's something we're going to cover kind of towards the end of this, is what are the real consequences to this, and what can we really do about it to make sure men don't feel lonely in our society? And how do you know, I guess, if you kind of fall into this bracket and stuff too? So what are your thoughts on that, Jared?
Yeah, it's funny because when we came up with this topic, you have it just as lonely men or men being lonely. Yeah. And in the video course that I'm creating, that 15 series, really the first one is just modern men are in crisis.
Sure, yeah.
And it's the same thing. Here's why we're in crisis, that loneliness epidemic. And I don't even think it's lonely so much. That's part of it. Confused. Lost. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing anymore. And I certainly see that. I have a 19-year-old.
Right.
He has a good job. You know, he loves being a mechanic, so he has older men around him teaching him how to fix the cars and troubleshoot and all this stuff. So he has that. He lives at home, which I want him to. He wanted to move out, but I said, you know what? I want you to save your money, and we'll make a move this year to get into real estate. But a lot of his friends have quit college already, and they're trying to figure out what they're doing. And in the meantime, what they're doing is playing video games, hanging out, smoking weed.
Right.
They don't know. No one's really giving these young men a map. And I used to have a map. You're a little bit younger than me. I'm 48. But I had probably not the map that I needed to have, but it was better than nothing. I feel like a lot of
I get that.
No map. Like, I'd rather have a really shitty map that has, well, okay, here's what don't do. Okay, well, that's still a map. That's good. Don't do those things. That's good. Here's what some people in your group, my grandfather, people, they all went in the military. So that was kind of my map. Like, I knew, for me, college wasn't the answer. I effing hated high school. I hated it with a passion. And all my friends thought I was dumb. I wasn't dumb. I'm actually pretty smart. I was bored.
Yeah. Okay. Just weren't interested. Yeah.
Weren't interested. So I think in my day, I'll sound like an old man, I had sort of a map. But that map's been pulled. Every generation is getting pulled and pulled and pulled. So these kids these days, there is no map. It's like we dropped them off and said, at 18, figure it out.
Yeah.
A lot of it is fatherless homes. And it's not even fatherless homes. It might be absent fathers, or the fathers themselves are so pussified or so beat down in their own lives, they're not able to lead their son.
So that's the thing. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Like as far as that kind of aspect goes, like even men that are in the home, like they're usually not there. Like even when they are there, they're not really there. I saw this with my wife's father. Like he would basically be out driving truck most of the time. Like he was always fine when he was on the road, but when he was at home, dude, he was sleeping. He wasn't doing anything else. He came home, he slept the whole time, and then he got back in the truck and took off. And like that was his whole life. And he was cool with it because like most of the time he was on the road. And so I think that there's a lot of that going on in a lot of families where like even if the dad is there, he's pretty absent. Like he's not really trying to show you the ropes. He's not really trying to get you into hobbies and that kind of stuff too. And I mean, some guys have that, some boys have that, and some guys are more like fortunate than others. Like other guys are out here with pretty much no direction at all. Like for me personally, just like based on my experience, I didn't have my dad. Like he took off like before I was born. Like he was just gone, and so like, he was never there. I didn't know who he was, and so I went from stepdad to stepdad to stepdad, and that's kind of how I grew up. And so most of what I learned about being a man came from my uncles, came from my grandfather, came from my stepdads. And I had a couple really good stepdads for that specifically, like guys who really taught me how to be a guy, how to be more manly, like how to fish, how to hunt, that kind of stuff. Like I had at least that much going for me where I got to learn how to do basic things. Like they taught me how to be a mechanic. They taught me how to be a journeyman. They taught me how to do basic like repairs and all that kind of stuff. Everything taught me how to tile, drywall, all that stuff. And so it was cool to kind of learn all that stuff from these guys. But that's really what you have to understand, like what all of human history is these guys learning from other guys. There was rite of passage in every single tribe in history, right? Every single time that the guys had to get together for a yearly ritual where they would basically bring all of the kids who were, 11 to 13, 14, any of them that were ready to go, and they'd take them out into the wilderness and they would test them. Yeah. And then when they came back, they would get together and they'd get around a bonfire, like, you're a freaking man now. And then they would all celebrate. And like that was the rite of passage, right? And they would teach them all the different things and pass that knowledge on to them so that they could move into the roles afterwards. Yeah. And so men in today's society have largely been robbed of that. So in today's society, we have to be inclusive of everyone. We have all this rampant feminism going on. We have a lot of the wives nagging and stuff like that too. So men have just been pacified, more or less. Like that's why a lot of them aren't really stepping up at home. That's why they're not really stepping up in society and that kind of stuff too. That's why a lot of them are more or less isolating themselves in the basement, just playing video games. They're just like, I'd rather do anything else than deal with all this shit that's going on out here. Yeah. And so they just isolate themselves. They just stay home. They don't really do much. They eat in. They, like watch Netflix, they play video games and just kind of pass the time. They're just trying not to be bored. And so that's just like you said, like they're bored. They don't know what to do. They don't even know what to focus on. They don't know what to build. And I think that that's a lot of the problem is the fact that they're just directionless. They don't know what to do. They're just lost. They're confused. They don't know what to focus on. They don't know who to get this information from because we've lost that initiation. We've lost that rite of passage. And we've lost all of those avenues where we had just men to learn from. Yeah. So you had back in the day, like Boy Scouts these days have to accept women too. Yeah. And so we don't really have any of those avenues that men used to have where men used to meet and like get with other men and learn how to be a man and learn what it really means to be a man and learn basically pride in being a man. Now that's like a criminal thing. It's something that's like taboo and it's nuanced now. And now we're misogynist every time we start talking about that stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, a lot of that also pairs with not so much boredom. I mean, that part of it, but all of this, video games, easy access to food. I mean, shit, Grubhub, boom. They live a life of ease. They've had no challenges in their life. And the only way you as a man, really as women too, but as a man, you need to be challenged. You need to be tested. Yeah. You need, your ass kicked. You need all this stuff because that's where confidence comes from. It's feedback from your environment. Right. Going out and going into the woods and get lost. That's great feedback. Fuck, you did something wrong. You got lost. How do you get out of it? Yeah. Cell phone doesn't work. Got to figure this out. So
having challenges is just feedback. But as they've gotten into these sporting events and the mothers have largely raised them, they raised them around bubble wrap. Can never get hurt. The kids were never allowed to do.
Everybody wins. Everybody gets a trophy. Yeah.
Rough and tumble play. Nobody got hurt. If one person got hurt, the entire game stopped until little Jimmy, the tears were done, and everybody went to a cry closet just to get it out.
Just real quick though. One example that I have of that too is like people in the U.S. versus people in Mexico. Like my lifestyle in the U.S., dude, they put gates and fences around everything. They put signs on everything. They lock everybody out of everything. They've got cops everywhere directing everything. Dude, that doesn't happen in Mexico. They don't put fences around anything. There's gaping holes in the freaking ground, man. Like your car could fall through.
There's a gaping hole with no border between those two.
Yeah.
Between the Mexicans. So, maybe we should have a fence, but I know what you're saying. That culture probably there's more respect between the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than there is the U.S.
Well, everybody's on their own. Like it's the thing. It's like everybody's just kind of expected to conduct themselves the way they see fit, and if they don't do that, then they correct them. But it's different from the U.S. because in the U.S. everybody's expected to have the same moral code. Everybody's expected to think the same thing. Otherwise, you're not woke or you're going against the grain, right? And the U.S. condemns that kind of stuff. But here, like, you do you. And if you don't do you and you start getting in the way of everybody else, then we'll correct you. But if you're doing you and you're not bothering anybody else, we don't care what you do. Right. And so that's kind of the attitude here is like they just don't care. Nobody really gets in each other's way. Everybody's responsible for themselves, and they're expected to be responsible for themselves. And so it's like, yeah, there's no fence around this freaking merry-go-round here, but like don't step on it when it's going. Like just don't be stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's just in cultures, and there's a lot more money in the U.S. You're on a coastline, I'm sure a lot of those kids, there's jobs for those kids, even the young ones. It's a tourist town, so that's how they make their money.
Absolutely. Cars, whatever, yeah.
But I think a lot of that is because there is no challenges in their lives, or very few, and nobody's challenging them. Nobody's telling these kids, get your ass up. I'm playing a video game. Well, no, you're going to go to the gym with me, or you're going to fix my brakes.
Yes.
Like doing these things. And then it's not just, like you said, it's not just fathers or stepfathers. It's any male figure positive in their life.
Right.
Because back in the tribalism times, when the tribes ran it, the tribe raised the kids. It wasn't an individual woman and it wasn't an individual man. It was the tribe. And you alluded to the U.S., and maybe it's the rest of the world, but the U.S. is specific on individualism. There is no tribe anymore. It's like,
right,
you can't correct some kid who's being a little dickhead in Target because mom will put you on video camera. I'm like, don't do that to my kid. That's child abuse. Or some Karen will do that.
Yep.
Back in the day, I know in my grandfather's day, he probably would have smacked that kid, and then the mom would say thank you. The dad would
I remember my grandpa too. Same thing. Yeah, for sure.
The dad wouldn't say nothing, So there are certain pockets in the U.S. that still do that. I do believe in the South. It's more Bible Belt, more religion based.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend lives down in South Carolina, and she has, and I'm just guessing, but probably 5 or 6 different positive male influences for her son. So, for instance, we're getting a little bit off topic, but I mean, I kind of want to show people there is a silver lining.
It's all related. This is all related stuff.
It is. Yeah. She, if her son goes on a sleepover to one of a friend's house, that dad, if he acts up, that dad can punish him. Now, I don't know about whooping his ass, but saying, hey, sit down for 10 minutes. You're being a little dick.
Make the corrections. Yeah.
Corrections. My girlfriend is completely fine with that because she understands that's how she was brought up. Like, you need to have order. You need to have some form of rigid discipline. Otherwise, you're everybody, man, woman, you're just chaotic.
You've got to have respect for experience. Yeah. Like, it's not even having respect for your elders or anything like that. I mean, sure, you should respect your elders, but at the same time, it's respect for experience. If somebody has more experience than you in something, you got to have a certain respect for that and realize that, okay, well, there's a reason why they're saying that. There's a reason why they told me to do it that way. There's a reason for that. And a lot of kids are kind of lacking that respect nowadays because they haven't really just had that experience from anybody else. They're learning everything from YouTube. They're learning things from people they don't even know. Yeah. And at the same time, a lot of them just don't have those role models in their lives. They don't really have a father in their life, or maybe their father is a little more feminine. Maybe their stepfather's a little more feminine. Maybe they're not really teaching them these men's values, right? Or they're learning it from the wrong people. They're learning men's values from women, or from men that have been emasculated. They're learning it from men who basically are feminists and stuff in a lot of regards too. That was my experience growing up. I grew up in a really conservative community, for sure. Like, most of Utah was conservative. Everybody leaned really conservative in a lot of ways. And so it was like that, God-fearing, conservative kind of Bible Belt kind of feel, for sure, where I was from. But there was a lot of like liberals and stuff in that area too. So like, I didn't have a dad. And when I was going to school, like, my teachers would instill that on me. My principals, my counselors, every single person that was talking to me, like, I was taught from the get-go to respect women and respect boundaries and don't touch anybody and all that kind of stuff. And just like all these different things. And so it gets to a point where these boys, like, they don't really become men, for one thing, because they're not initiated. They have no rite of passage. They're not learning men's values and what it really means to be a man. They're not learning how to step up. They're shying away from discomfort. They don't really understand what it means to be disciplined and how to maintain like that disciplined consistency, because they're not intentional with anything. They don't want anything. They don't really care where they're at. There's no desire to move from where they are. And so they just keep doing what they do every single day, right? They just keep playing the video games, watching Netflix, scrolling social media, watching porn, whatever it is that they're passing their time with. They're bored in that regard, and they're doing that stuff to pass the time because they don't know what else to do. And so that's the stuff that's really making them depressed. That's the stuff that's really making them lonely, because they're not making progress in any direction or another. And like I said, you live in a society where all of your teachers, all of your counselors, and all of the media and the news and everybody's always been telling you your whole freaking life that, like, you've got to respect women, that, you've got to keep your hands to yourself, that, like, they've just been instilling all of these women's values in you. And it's like, yeah, women, like, definitely, like, I'm not saying that like women are evil, that women are bad. Like, that's really an incel's outlook. And that's what a lot of these guys get too. Yeah. And so they start to think like, oh, I don't need women. I've got my laptop. What the hell do I care? And so that's pretty much, they just get more isolated and they just get more into themselves, and they just keep not going out for social activities. So they're not socializing with other men. They're not socializing with women, because women are hypergamous, right? Women are always looking for their best option. And if you're a guy kind of sitting at home all day playing video games, then you're probably not her best option. And so, like, even if you jump onto those dating apps and stuff too, which is another large problem with this, like, those dating apps are a huge problem, and they perpetuate all this stuff. And so you're scrolling, swiping left, swiping right, whatever it is, Tinder, Bubble, whatever you're using, you're basically just swiping through women. They're swiping through men. They swipe through most men. So here's the thing. They're swiping like 95% of the men on their screen. They've swiped past them because they just don't care. They didn't even catch their attention. But one guy did. And guess what? That one guy caught the attention of her and her friend and the girl down the street and the girl down the neighborhood. And he's got 10 different girls that matched with him, and none of them matched with you. And so there's an uneven distribution, because the Giga Chads are getting all the women, and it's leaving other men pretty much feeling isolated and alone. And they don't really have women they can go after. They don't trust women, because they feel like these women who are after all the Giga Chads are pretty much just going to cheat on them when they get with them. So they're just like, screw it. Why even try? What the hell is even the point, right? So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, right? A large part of it. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's part of it. But anytime that there's no positive, I'm not saying masculine, positive masculine energy in a child's life, anytime it's voided, creates a vacuum.
Yeah.
And so they get their information from social media. They get their information or their inspiration, if you're a poorer kid, from gangs. Because we all have a need for connection. Love and connection is one of the 6 basic human needs. Most people never reach love, but we all need connection. So they're going to connect to these other, they quote, males that they look up to. They're just grown children who are exploiting these kids to sell them the drugs, go rob somebody, go shoot somebody. If you do these things, you're initiated into our brotherhood.
Right.
These young kids would rather do that than have nobody. Now they have what's called purpose. They feel that connection. Even though it's bad connection, it doesn't matter. The energy is the same. It's what they're feeling. Now they belong to this gang. And I'm just using gangs as an example because a lot of people always ask me, what's this thing about gangs? I'm like, well, think about it, So now you have these younger kids who have no father. They have now a place in this gang. They got initiated. They probably stole. Maybe they murdered. Who knows? Whatever they did.
Right.
They're protected by their own now. Okay. Think about how powerful that is. Think about the sense of purpose they have just for that.
Right.
So
all for one for all kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure. So they go into gangs. Women are really no different. I mean, we could talk a little bit about that, but they go into these influencers and some of these like Missy Elliott, I don't know who these morons are, these rap artists, and they talk about their coochie and all, they go to all of these influences, and even the men, rap music. I fucking hate rap music. All they talk about is shooting and raping and all this. But it's a huge industry. Why is that? It's resonating with the anger in most young people.
Yeah.
So you have this void, you have this vacuum, you have marketing companies that understand that and they're tapping into it.
Yep. So
they're creating music. They're creating not gangs, but I think maybe the government is sort of facilitating gangs, but that's a whole other thing. But there's this vacuum. Add to this, you still have these confused kids. And then like any other spectrum, you have far left and far right. Well, your far left comes along this woke ideology that, you know what? Why even call yourself a male? There are no genders, man. Call yourself this.
Right.
Call yourself
start blurring
that.
The lines.
I feel better. I'm not a man. I'm this wolf or whatever the fuck. It's mental illness is what it is. But they're pushing it onto these kids that you can be anything you want.
And the thing is, too,
you don't even want to talk about. Well, wait, let me finish the thought because this is what happens. So these kids are like, what does it mean to be a male? I don't know what a male is because I haven't been told what a male is. So they're going to tell me what a male is. And a male doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, that toxic masculinity, now you're a masculine prick. You shouldn't even think like that. You should think like this. So you have all these males that resonate with that, and they're on this side.
Right.
You have equal amount of males that don't. They're smart. They're like, no, that's not right. And then they go to the Andrew Tates of the world. Now, I'm not knocking Andrew Tate. Part of his message is get strong, get money, be the best version of yourself that you can be, and make a positive impact in this world. That's only part of what he says, though. I love him, but his other messages have multiple women, exploit them, and do whatever you can to beat the system. So
true.
Now you have these guys who are like, well, I like this message, but I don't want to date 5 women at once. Oh, well, then now you're a simp. Well, you can't be part of this brotherhood. So you have these two extremes, and what you really need to do, like anything else, you need to get back into the middle and find positive males that say, yes, you want to be strong. You want to go to the gym. You want to make as much money as you can, not for her, for you, for your own benefit. You want to be useful in society so that you have choice with women. If you want to date multiple women, that's fine, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're having the thing that you have your option.
Yeah.
You need to come back to the middle so that these kids.
So here's the thing.
That's where we're at right now.
We live in a society where everybody is encouraged to, be their own person, be whoever they want to be whatever they want to be, whether it's a guy or a girl or like somewhere in between or something else entirely. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of that going on for sure. Absolutely. But at the same time, like, I don't think it's so much their fault. Like, I think in a lot of cases, they're just kind of fed all this stuff from the media. They're fed all this stuff from everybody around them, and they're told that this stuff is normal, and they're told that this stuff is fine, and that everybody should just accept them for who they are. But here's the thing, like these women who are out there who are on these dating apps, who are sleeping with the Giga Chads and all that kind of stuff too, right? They don't want that. They don't want that. And so you're not their best option, so they just go after Giga Chad.
Right.
And so, like I said, it just ends up leaving you even more isolated than you were, and even more confused and lost than you were. It's like, the thing is too, is like, nobody really has the answer for you. Like there's nobody out there that really has the answer for what you need. All we're talking about is all the stuff that's going on and kind of the consequences of it and why it's kind of happening, why we all feel so lost. But really what we're lacking here is drive and purpose. Because that, when we talked a couple weeks ago about the dopamine overdose and all that kind of stuff too. And so, like, if we're sitting around playing video games all day, we're eating pizza, we're eating Doritos, and on top of that, just, watching Netflix, because we just don't know what else to do with our time. We're just bored, and we're not really driven. We're not really motivated. We don't have any direction. So we're just going to do these things in the meantime, just to pass the time. And I'm not saying that there's anything inherently wrong with any of that. All I'm saying is, that's what's zapping your motivation. It's why you're not motivated. That's why you're not energized. That's why you don't feel like you want to get out there and even make yourself uncomfortable. And we live in a society where men have not been initiated. They have not had the rite of passage that's necessary. Because in the olden days, like hundreds of years ago, these tribes would grab these boys out of their beds, middle of the night, take them out into the forest and say, you're going to do this, 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 and this. And if you graduate, you're a man. If you don't graduate, you're out. And so that's kind of what it was. And that's kind of what we evolved from. So you have to understand that, like, that's 100,000 years of evolution that they did that. We've only changed it in the last 200 years. And so things have only gotten easier in the last 200 years, because for the 100,000 years before that, that was life. That's what they did. That's how it worked. And so nowadays, like, people are smarter than ever. They're more connected than ever in a way, but they're still more isolated than they've ever been. They're more lonely than they've ever been. They're more depressed than they've ever been. And they don't know what to do about it. They have no idea how to fix it. Yeah. And like I said, they don't realize that all these mechanisms that all these marketing companies and all these big media companies have put in their way are designed to keep them doing that.
Yeah.
And until they can kind of discard those things and say, I need my motivation where it needs to be, but I need to understand where I'm going. What life am I trying to live? Who do I want to be? Like, who do I really want to be? Do I want to be a bodybuilder? Do I want to be a master fisherman? Do I want to be a freaking rock star? It doesn't matter what you want to do. It's just a matter of being driven and purposeful towards one single thing, and not just wasting all of your time watching Netflix and playing video games and doing all the things that really amount to nothing, because that stuff just blows all your dopamine and makes it so you're not motivated to do anything else. And like I said, people shy away from discomfort because they haven't had that rite of passage. They haven't been forced by other men out of their comfort zone to do things, like to get out there and like go hunting, to get out there and survive on your own, to learn some survival skills and that kind of stuff too. Because like when men were forced to do that back in the day in a rite of passage, they came out of it more whole, and they came out of it feeling like they were a major contributor to where they were at and stuff too. And so it's really, that's what a lot of these guys are after. That's why these gangs succeed. And that's why these religious organizations succeed in recruiting these men, because they're looking to belong to something like that.
Yep. And then they also want a blueprint. So in both of these scenarios that I told you, there's still no blueprint. It's just like, you don't need to be a male. You don't have to identify as a male. That's masculine. That's toxic masculinity. So it might feel good to say that, but like, okay, so then what am I? Well, that doesn't matter. You're not a male. You don't need to have purpose. Why? You don't have to worry about it, like you said. Then you have the extreme side, which tends to leave it towards the more old school traditional. Now, I lean more that way, but there are some aspects of old, true, traditional masculinity that could be viewed as toxic, and I understand that. So these young men are like, what do I do then? Where's my map? And so we need to create them a map. And a lot of people say, well, if we create them a map, then it's not by their design. It doesn't matter. Because once you give them basic instructions, then they can make it their own.
Well, it's not a matter of giving them an exact map of where they need to go. It's getting them on the pathway so that they can at least get into the neighborhood of where they need to be.
Right. Well, once you have something, then they can work with it. Right now,
they can form into whatever you need it to be. Yeah.
So you can't work with nothing. You can work with something. So I think the better question is, what does that map look like? If you're a young man watching this, or maybe you're a man right now who has kids that are struggling in this, what does that map look like? What can we give our kids that something tangible? They say, if you do these things, it gets you at least on the right path. Now, the very first one I always say on everything, because it's so important, is get to the gym. And you're like, what? No, the gym doesn't just give you muscles. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you patience. It teaches you so much. It teaches you about your body. It creates that discipline in you that you know it's not going to be overnight to get muscles. But getting to that gym, it also gets for a young man an outlet. Young men have a lot of testosterone. They have a lot of rage. They need
exactly. It's an offshoot. It's an outlet for sure. For me, it's definitely that for sure. That's one big thing that I noticed when I started going to the gym was like, okay, you're sitting home and you're watching Netflix or you're playing video games or whatever. You're blowing all your dopamine. You're scrolling social media, whatever. Like you're just kind of trying to pass the time, but like you're blowing all your dopamine. So like that's your motivation. Your motivation's gone now.
Yep.
And so your motivation meter's in the dumps. So you don't want to sit around and blow all your dopamine. One of the better things to do would be to like, instead of trying to stop doing those things, fill the time with something else.
Right.
That something else could be the gym. It could be a hike. It could be a walk.
Yep.
Just do something else. That's not the video game. That's not the social media. That's not Netflix. Right. If you go to the gym, you'll start to notice that that is like, you'll notice a lot of your aggression starts to go away. You start to feel more motivated. You start to get endorphins instead of the dopamine high, right?
Yeah.
And so then you start to achieve results in that. Then you start to get motivated. Then your pride gets involved. And it's like, oh, man, like this feels great. This is awesome. I feel like I can do freaking anything. Your energy goes through the roof and you start to become more magnetic automatically. So that's why the gym is a keystone thing. That's like something that you can add that will affect so many other parts of your life. It's ridiculous. Like that alone could pull you out of a dump situation.
Definitely. So getting to the gym. Now, this really applies to any male. So whoever's watching this, if you're you might even be in your late 20s or 30s still feeling stuck, get to the gym. Chances are, if you're feeling stuck right now and not really sure, you're probably overweight or you're carrying excess weight and you have other bad habits associated with that. You don't eat right. You probably don't drink enough water. Just getting into the gym, and not with the idea of looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get into the gym, can book a call with me. I can actually help you break down your outcome goal, and we'll break it down to a process. I will be more than happy to help you with that because I want to see you succeed. Once you have some success in the gym, your diet automatically will get better. It will.
Yeah. You'll drink more water automatically.
You'll start, your body will not, it really takes care of a lot of other stuff. So the gym is number one, and I don't care how old you are. If you're 8 years old watching this, or maybe you're 30 and you have an 8-year-old and you're overweight, chances are your kid is too. Both of you go to the gym. This is something you can do because
you bond over it. Yeah.
The young kids need to see an example. Your young child, if you're watching this and have a kid and you're overweight it's far better to see you overweight and getting thin and getting healthy with him. Like, you both share this common problem. Okay. So you want to be the leader. So lead your child into whatever deficiency you have, fix it with him. Because if you have that deficiency, chances are he does too, because we see our surroundings. If my dad's always on the couch watching football, chances are I'm on the couch watching football with him. That's just how it goes. So getting to the gym is the first one. The second one I'd invite everyone to do is take a cleanse on social media, but replace it with and we can drop in our Magnetic Men free guide. This week, I'll drop the 10 most powerful books that I've read for you to help increase your purpose in life. Chase and I will just drop that.
Yeah.
We'll put it into the general discussion. So if you're watching this and you're part of the Magnetic Men free guide or free, what do we call it? The free channel?
Free community. Yeah.
Free community. Brain fart.
The link's down below. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not, join the link down below. All we need is your email. It's free.
It's all free.
Tons of information in there. There's free courses, free videos, and we'll chop this. Start reading books, okay? You want to start having a positive mental mindset. And if you're watching porn, playing video games, all of this, none of that's positive. It's just not a positive. You need to take a topic like, again, maybe you're overweight. I'll put some biographies in there of people who have gone to the gym and have done amazing things with their lives. Maybe that'll inspire you. But you want to have a positive mental model of the world, because society always wants what's best for society. So if you go online in any form, it's always negative coming at you. The reason why it's negative is because they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to tell you there's something negative in your life. And if you do these things, buy this potion, buy this book, buy this elixir, join this course, then you'll be happy. That's not how it works. And this is why our community is free.
Mm-hmm.
Start getting positive feedback into your brain. It's a loop. Chase is the computer guy, but he's heard of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out.
Yep,
you feed your brain garbage, it's just going to spit out garbage. That's all it knows how to do. It's a computer. You feed it healthy, positive affirmations. You feed it healthy food, all of this. It's going to shoot out healthy vibes, healthy energy. That's how it works.
Yep.
So getting into the gym, taking a cleanse, and it doesn't have to be all day. Start small, but replace an hour of video games with an hour of reading.
Yep.
The other biggest thing that I would invite, if you're younger and you don't know what you want to do with your life, I hear this all the time. What is my purpose? What is it that I'm supposed to do? Knock all that shit off, because it doesn't exist. Okay. I'm going to break down what your purpose is. Your purpose is finding the things that you generally enjoy doing that bring you joy. Now, I'm not saying video games. Unless you're really good and you can make $1 million playing Call of Duty, well, then that's your purpose. But it's a hobby. For most people, it's a hobby. Find some things you don't suck at, okay, that generally give you joy, and then move into that direction. It's not about what fulfills me. It's not about, if I could paint flowers all day and be a millionaire. No. Sometimes your purpose sucks in that sense that it might not be the thing that gives you the most passion, but you're really good at it and you can make money at it. And sadly, we are in a society, you need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't run on feelings. So you need to find something that you can do. And I always tell guys, fuck college. Get into a trade. The trades right now, you will never make more money in any other field than in plumbing, in being a carpenter, electrician. Start looking into those. because that's a skill that you're going to learn. Nobody can take from you. The economy could tumble and you can still know how to build something. The economy could tank and you can still plumb, be an electrician, right?
I noticed this personally just between what people reach out to me for all the time. Because I thought when I was younger that I was going to be a video game developer. I totally thought that I was going to develop video games. I went to school to develop video games. I learned how to program, all that stuff. I learned how to make all the models. I learned how to make all the animations, everything. I can do full 3D renderings. I can actually make full-on 3D animations, 3D cartoons, 3D. I can full-on make full video games from scratch. I made 30 of them, put them on my phone, let my kids play them, all that stuff. And that's something that I thought I was going to do, man.
Yeah.
But I didn't end up doing that because I went for things that got the bills paid, because that's not stuff that got the bills paid. It just didn't. It was so competitive in that market, trying to get a video game job, trying to do anything with that kind of stuff. And then obviously making your own video game is a massive project when you're on your own. It's I just came to realize all these things. It's not that I didn't try, but I did try. Because I'm passionate about video games, man. I love video games, but it's just not something I spend a lot of my time doing. I here and there, sometimes I'll sit down and have a leisure walkthrough on the video game. It's just not something I do for hours a day, every single day, right? It's something here and there. If I've got some downtime, I'll play a video game. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about. There's nothing wrong with sitting around and catching a series on Netflix. Just don't do it every single day, right? Try and replace that time with things that are more valuable. That's all we're saying.
It's really not putting so much pressure on yourself over the word purpose, because purpose is thrown around way too much, and just breaking it down is really, what don't you suck at? And
so that's just it.
What could you do if you're really if you're good with video games? Chances are you're good with your hands. Chances are you'd make a good mechanic. Right.
There's things you could do.
Because there's hand-eye coordination. All you have to do is take those skills. Now, do you have to get off your ass and work harder? Yes, but
so here's it.
This is your Goj. This is what we talked about in a video I did about the 300, the Spartans.
Right.
We go through what's called a Goj. This will be your Goj. Okay, I'm learning a trade. Now, is someone going to kill you? No. But you're starting and you know nothing. And a group of men could be union workers or say, okay, you're going to clean up this yard for the next month. Yeah, it sucks. I'm not learning anything. Well, yes, you are learning stuff. You just don't know you're learning stuff. You're learning what these things are. You're learning the tricks of the trade. You're learning the tools. The point is, I would invite any young man right now, get into the trades.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are leaving the trades, not because the trades suck, because they're getting older and they can't do the work anymore. And there's this vacuum. There's no one to fill them. So they're paying more. They're way better benefits than they ever used to be. And you always have a job. You go to college right now for some bullshit degree, or it might not even be a bullshit degree. It might be that's a bullshit degree, business administration. That's all bullshit. But it might be a job that AI in the next 3 years is going to completely wipe out.
Right.
You don't know that because they haven't developed it yet. Yep. AI is not going to wipe out the trades. It can't.
No.
It might facilitate it, but somebody still has to run that freaking electrical line. Somebody still has to get up, do the flooring, do the roof, hang the walls.
Well, see, what I've realized too, over all this stuff is the fact that we avoid what we're not good at. Yeah. So here's the thing: if we try something new and we're not good at it out the gates, we tend to avoid it. It's something that's known as a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Somebody with a fixed mindset kind of approaches that and says, okay, well, if I'm not good at this the first time I try it, I'm never going to do it again. Somebody with a growth mindset says, I'm not going to be good at this the first time I try it, and so I'm going to keep trying until I am good at it.
Yeah.
And so those are the different kind of mindsets that a lot of people approach things with. You're either approaching it with a fixed mindset where if I'm not good at this the first time, I'm never doing it again, versus there's no way I'm going to be good at this the first time I try it. And so I'm going to keep doing it until I get good at it.
Yep.
And so approaching it with a growth mindset kind of says, my experience with this was I got into websites around the same time that I tried to learn how to program for video games. I started programming websites because people wanted websites. Like I knew how to build websites. I knew how to program. I could build WordPress themes from scratch. And so I just started building websites for people. And that's really what started to kind of free me up and make my own income. Like it freed me from having to work for somebody else, right?
Yeah.
It freed me from that paycheck to paycheck kind of lifestyle, right? It allowed me and gave me something that could give me money whenever I needed it. It's like a lot of people will sit in a situation like, where am I going to make that $500 that I need for rent? Where am I going to make that $300 I need for my car payment? For me, it was like, go sell a freaking website.
Yeah.
Go talk to some people. Go figure it out. Go network. Go to a networking meeting. And so then I started to figure out all those little nuances on how to get clients and what it really meant to get clients online and how to actually do that. And I realized that that was the most valuable thing in any business. But I hated it at first. I hated building websites at first because I ran into so many problems that would take me so much time to fix.
Yeah.
And then I hated doing the agency work when I actually started doing the agencies and like running ads for other people because everybody was always up my ass. They were like, dude, these leads suck. What's going on with these leads? We need these need to be cheaper and that kind of stuff, whatever. We need to move from Facebook to Google, all that kind of stuff. Everything you kind of dealt with that. And it was like, you weren't good at it at first. And so like you just kept kind of avoiding it and not doing things for it and things would suffer. And so that's what I realized throughout all of this is like, once I got good at something, once I got good at Google ads, once I got good at building the websites, dude, I could do it all day. Like, you need a website, you need Google ads, and I'm your guy. I can do that. And so then you start to put that confidence into it, right? And that comes from experience. I think that's the big misconception that people have of confidence. They think that confidence is motivation, but it isn't. Confidence is experience. Confidence is looking at something and saying, dude, I've seen this 300 freaking times. It's done the same 300 freaking times. It's going to do the same thing again. And this is exactly what's going to happen. If this happens, and if it does this, this is going to happen. That is confidence. That comes from experience. That comes from doing something 10,000 times. And so it's realizing if you want confidence in something, go do it. Go do it a lot. If you want confidence talking to women, go talk to a lot of women. If you want confidence in making friends, go be social and go make some friends. That's how you build confidence in that stuff, right? And so it's really just getting to that threshold. But what you lack is the motivation because you think that the confidence is the motivation, but it isn't. The motivation comes from not blowing your dopamine every day. The motivation comes from semen retention. It comes from not masturbating. It comes from not watching a whole series of Netflix. It comes from avoiding the video games and going to the gym instead. Your energy levels change and you get so much more motivation from that. Then you go and get the experience. Then your confidence goes through the roof and your whole life starts to change brick by brick. And it's just taking one step at a time. And doing these things in the right order with the map, like Jared said, allows you to make this change within 6 months of your life. From now to 6 months from now, you can change your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think the last thing I would just tell guys, because it's such a big part of our life, but if you don't have yourself figured out, if you don't have your money right, or at least in the position to getting into a trade, like whatever it is, if you're at home, still living at home, playing video games, and you're only doing this because you don't have a map, and you take this advice and like, okay, I'll go look into the trades. Great, perfect. Moving forward, putting a game plan together. Yeah. A lot of guys put the cart before the horse. Like, yeah, I'm really lonely. I don't have a girlfriend. Who in the F would want to date you? I'm not being a dick to you, but you need to be somebody that somebody would want to date.
Yep.
So in order to even worry about that, be good if you had a job. Be good if you took care of yourself, mind, body, spirit.
Hygiene.
Be good that you aren't living at home unless there's a situation where you have to. I mean, there are some people, their parents are very sick. I get it. I'm not saying not live at home, but if you're 28, 29, and you're living at home and just mooching, you might need to kind of get out and figure your life out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
time to grow up.
In order to get the icing on the cake, which is women, they're just icing on the cake. You need to bake your own cake first. Yes, women are beautiful. Yes, you might want children. You might want to get married. That's all icing, but you can't get the icing unless you have the cake first. And it's up to you to make your own cake. No woman can make your cake for you. You have to do the work, and you can't rush it. If you're 35-year-old right now and you haven't done anything with your life and you're feeling frustrated that your time is ticking, it is, my friend, but you can start right now. Start getting the ingredients for a cake. Do the basics. I need to get to the gym. I need to start eating better. Slow burn. I need to get a job. I need to get out of my parents' house. I need to be a man. I need to grow up.
Right.
That's what you have. Now, if you do these things, is every woman going to fall from the ether onto your dick? No. But you're in a position where you have something to offer her, whoever her is. Well, you're in no position right now. There isn't. If you're in a gang, what position are you in? You know, like if you decide to go that route, chances are you'll be dead very soon anyway, but you have to be in a position to offer women. You have to sell them on what you have. Like, I have a job, I have this, I have that. And yes, they do have a hypergamous nature.
So the thing is too, is it's not all finances. Like it's not all tied to money. Like a lot of it's tied to
a lot of it.
How do you look? Do you seem like somebody who can protect her? Do you seem like somebody who's got his shit together, who's going to be driven, who has a foundation for the future? Do you seem like somebody who's going to be fun for her like months from now, right? Yeah. Do you seem like somebody who's going to be fun while you're going on vacation? Do you seem like a guy who wants to go on vacation? Do you seem like a guy who wants to have kids, doesn't want to have kids, whatever? Like these are all things they're kind of analyzing in you. And so the whole goal is to become a well-rounded man, to understand these things about yourself. Are these your beliefs and values? Like, do you even want to have kids? Maybe you don't ever want to have kids. That's fine. Right. Find a woman who doesn't ever want to have kids. That's cool. No problem. Keep playing the field. Whatever you want to do. Don't ever get into a relationship. It's fine, dude. Like whatever's good for you. But getting clear on that is the important thing. And saying, no, that's the kind of guy I am. I don't think I'm ever going to want to have kids. Or this is the kind of guy that I am. Like, I think that I want to have a fulfilling relationship with a girl who does a lot of these things for me, but not because I need her to do them for me, because she takes that burden off of me. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing too, is like you take the burden of worrying about where her income's going to come from, where her food's going to come from off of her. She takes the burden of you having to worry about making your dinner, of you having to worry about doing all that stuff too, right? So you're kind of mutually beneficial in that way. And having that kind of a relationship is really fruitful. It's really beneficial. And so that's what we're talking about here too.
Yeah. But to even get to that level, you got to build your cake. You got to build your foundation. You got to build Team you. I'm Team Jared. That's Team Chase, where I'm the CEO, cook, bottle washer. I'm everything into my own brand. Once my brand gets to a certain level where there's a lot of goodwill in a brand, women start looking like, wow, all right, this guy's self-employed. He takes good care of himself. You want to look at yourself as a brand. I always tell everyone this, and they start thinking, yeah, I should, because that's what you're advertising. All you can do is advertise yourself. So if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons in your underwear, eating meatloaf, overweight, long, strigly beard, well, then that's your brand. Your brand is a bum. You don't get the right to bitch while you don't have a woman. You're largely checking out of that pool.
Right.
If you want to change, I'll definitely help you, but it starts with you.
Well, here's the thing too, is like, why does brand matter though? Like, why is it so important for you to focus on being the best brand that you can be? Think about it like when you're going out to buy a cell phone or something like that, and you have the Apple phone next to the Android phone, and there's like 3 other Android phones, and they're all by different services, right? We have the LG Android phone, we have the Samsung Android phone. You look at the iPhone, it's like it's on this big display, and it looks nice, and it's freaking sleek, and it's like, dude, I want the iPhone. Like, why do I want any of these other freaking phones? Like, the iPhone's it, dude. And the reason being is because they put so much effort into that brand. They put so much effort into making sure that they're distinguished from everybody else and that their own thing. That's why they kick everybody else's ass. That's why they're one of the biggest companies on the face of the planet. They do branding better than anybody else. Like, imagine going to McDonald's and then there's this other freaking hamburger restaurant next door called McDaniel's, and you're like, I'm gonna go to McDonald's. I'm not going to McDaniel's. There's no way.
Right. Well, I mean, that's it. Like, you want to be the best version of you, your best brand. And the reason why is you want women, coworkers, whoever, to say, oh, no, that's Jared. Like, well, who's that guy? That's Jared. Where a lot of people are just kind of just sheep. They're like, I don't know that guy. I don't know him. Who's that guy?
Seen him around.
Barista at, Starbucks in his 30s. I don't know. It says Tim. That's Tim. And I'm not making. Well, I am, but I mean, that's Tim. You're a barista at Starbucks, and you're 35. That's your brand. That's your brand. I mean, that you just told me your brand. So who's Jared? Well, he has a Magnetic Men channel. Who's Chase? He's got a Magnetic Men channel. They run this together. That's part of only one of the few businesses they have. Like, they talk. They get shit thrown at them for the stuff that they say, but they're unapologetic about it because this is what they believe men need to hear, not what we're trying to sell them.
It's all about the energy that you bring into a room and stuff too. So, like, think about, like, one of the major cornerstones of charisma is fun. And if you're not fun, you're not charismatic. It's just that simple. You're not fun for people to be around. Like, when you walk into a room and you're just like, oh God, work didn't go so well. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month. I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I don't know where my car payment's going to come from. Like, I don't know, guys. What do you think? Dude, nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to you. I know that you're struggling with this, and like, this is your reality, and it matters, and it does, and you got to get that shit paid. But when you bring that into the room with you, and when you're putting that on everybody else, like, you're asking them to take that burden, and so they're like, this guy's not fun to be around. Like, why the hell do we want to hang out with this guy? Yeah. And so that's really what it's down to. Like, you got to bring a different energy with you into the room. Like, when you walk in, like, you're wearing something different. People look like, oh man, like, he's like, that's what captures their attention. Like, who is this guy? He's wearing a cowboy hat. Like, what the hell? So it doesn't matter what it is that you use, right? You have something flashy. They're like, who the hell is this guy? And then you get them interested, and then they're like, okay, who are you? What do you do for a living? And then you start to tell them, like, no, dude, I have all these freaking businesses. I do all this stuff online. I'm abroad all the freaking time. Dude, I live in Mexico. I'm back in the United States like 3 times a year. That's it. Yeah. That's who I am. And so people start to look at that and like, well, how the hell did you do that? And so they start to get more interested in you. And then they go further down the rabbit hole. And you're an interesting person to know. You're not the guy who's in there complaining about his car bill and his rent and all that stuff. Dude, you got to take care of your shit. You do. Yeah. I'm not telling you not to complain about those things. All I'm telling you, though, when you're asking other people to take that burden, you're not fun. And they're going to avoid you. What makes you magnetic is when you walk in with a certain energy. So when you can walk in and be like, yeah, dude, I got to pay the rent, but it's going to get taken care of. I'm not worried about it. I'll figure it out. Somebody's going to come through. I've got all these deals on the table. I'm not worried about it. It's cool. Mm-hmm. So you guys want to buy some drinks? It's cool. Like, you just like, you move into it and you just keep moving with a different kind of energy. Yes, your energy is going to affect how you bring that in, but that's why you got to have that positive disposition. That's why you've got to be non-reactive. That's why you've got to learn to control your emotions and all that stuff too. I'm not telling you not to have emotions. Right. I'm just saying you've got to take the right emotions into the right situations and start to identify that for yourself. Yeah.
We're also, guys, we're getting to the top of the hour. I would say in the next 2 weeks, we have our first full-length course coming out. It's 15 chapters, modules. 15 courses, modules, whatever you want to call it. I'm working on them now. It's packed with all of this information, and we go in each specific section. They're mapped. Do this first, do this, do this, do this. So it's very easy for you guys to take one module, dominate that one. Or you might be watching the modules, say, you know what, I'm actually pretty good at this already. This really one doesn't apply to me. Great, go to the next one. Yeah. And we're setting it up in a way where it's going to be very easy to afford. I want as many people to be able to afford this as possible. And it's a good starting point because as you go through this module, these individual ones, you're going to come up to resistance in some of them. You might think they're going to be easy. And some of the tests I have is I want you to do this. You're going to come up with some resistance. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is this is now the time where you need to start investing in yourself. getting into a good one-on-one coaching program, if there's an area in these modules where you're just stuck on, you're like, I can't go further. I cannot do this. We want you to book a call with us so that we can really work through that. Because then once you can work through that and you understand it and you apply it, that resistance leaves you. And then you go on this module and say, oh, well, that was pretty easy. Is this going to completely save you? No, but it's going to give you that map we're talking about. If you do these things in this order, you're in a much better position to figure out a purpose, which I already said that I want to replace that word with really what don't you suck at? Like, really, that's what it is. So that you can start having some little wins and you can start realizing, I'm lonely, but I'm lonely because I didn't have a map, because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what I didn't know. At least now I know.
Yeah.
That's really what most men need is, okay, now I know I can do.
Here's the thing, man. Like years ago, I was the guy sitting in the basement, playing the video games, watching the Netflix, jerking off, whatever. Right, man. I try and break my record every day, man. Can I jerk off 10 times today? I don't know. Let's see. We're gonna freaking try. But that's who I was. Not even just a few years ago.
What I'm gonna do?
It's like, who needs that wife? Whatever we're fighting, I'm just gonna go jerk it in the bathroom. I don't care. And so then I'm gonna go watch Netflix and I'm just gonna chill and I don't care. I'm gonna do it on my own. That's what I love to do. And I'm gonna sit around and I'm gonna eat my popcorn. I don't care. I've been that guy, man. Like I was that guy not even a few years ago. I even am that guy today sometimes, Sometimes there's just days where you're just not feeling it and you're just kind of off, right? Yeah. It's okay. It happens. It's just trying to have more days on than we have off. And that's all we're talking about too with trying to achieve all this stuff too. It's just, dude, if you can do it 180 days out of the year, I don't care if you failed the other 180. That's 180 more than you did last year. And so who cares? That's how we're going to approach this self-development. And so realizing that, like, that's what I had to do for myself. Like, because I realized that I wasn't going to go cold turkey on every single thing. I wasn't going to quit smoking weed, quit smoking cigarettes, quit alcohol, and like quit Netflix and like just like cold turkey everything. I'm a freaking boss, man. Like I'm perfect and I can do all this stuff. Nobody can. It's not human. There's not a freaking human on earth, maybe besides David Goggins, that can do that, right?
Well, that's one thing. I don't want to cut you off, but when you guys are watching these influencers and they say they've been doing this routine for 8 years, they're selling. They may have been doing it more for 8 years, and they may be doing it most days. Yeah. But none of them say they ever slip, and we're human. And I just wish more would say that. Like I slip too. Like I mean, I don't smoke weed and shit. But I mean, my point is, none of us are infallible. None of us are perfect, and we don't want to create robots.
No.
So we want you to still be who you are unapologetically, but we want you to get better.
We want you to be successful. That's just it. We want you to be successful. It's not human to try and act like David Goggins every day. I mean, if you can do it, power to you, man. Like I'm not knocking it or anything. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not telling you not to strive for it. All I'm saying is most people are humans. Most people deal with the same shit. Most people don't do things for the same reasons. Most people are putting things off for the same reasons. We're all freaking humans, and we all deal with this stuff. The best people that you look up to, every single person, every single one of them has an off day. And so that's how you kind of have to approach this and say, like, I'm just trying to have more days on than I'm trying to have off, right? And I just want to be very clear on where I'm going and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to implement into my life and why. So first steps first. For me, I wanted to have more energy. Like, what the hell does it take for me to have more energy? And so I started working with a coach, and he told me, like, okay, stop jerking off. First of all, he's like, that your energy is going down the tubes because you're jerking off every single day. First of all, like your dopamine is shot every single time you do that. So stop doing that.
Yeah.
You'll have more energy. I guarantee you'll have more motivation. Just stop doing that one thing. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to fail that first night. Yeah. You're probably going to fail the next morning. Just stop doing it so many times and just try and ramp it down, man. That's all I'm saying. Like fill it up with other things. Get into the gym, start doing other things instead. It's so much easier to start doing something else than it is to stop doing something you shouldn't be, right? Yeah. So just focus on implementing new things and start to replace the time and the energy.
Yep.
First and foremost, you will have more motivation if you do that. From there, go to the gym. You got to go to the gym. You got to get moving. You've got to move. Things in motion get things done, and action loves motion, man. And the more action you take, the more results you're going to get. So start moving, like get to the gym, at least start going for a walk, at least get up and start hiking and that kind of stuff. Like just get active, start doing some things.
Yep.
Get out and start talking to friends, start picking up old conversations with some old friends, start to try and meet other men in your life who could be a positive male influence for you, who could teach you things that you need to know. Start to try and identify those people, build your group of men, get into a group of other men. And the thing is too, is like find your brotherhood, find your wolf pack, find the people that you can count on no matter what happens in your life, the people that you can count on for information, the people that you can confide in, people that you can talk to who you know are going to tell it to you straight, because we don't tell it to ourselves straight. We need people around us to tell it to us straight. And we need to be around people that are more successful than us, because if you're the most successful person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You got to get into a room where people are way more successful than you. Yeah. And they'll motivate you and teach you to get to that level. But you've got to be around people that know how to do it. It's our nature as men to teach the people behind us to do the things that we do. I want to teach people how to start a business. I want to teach people how to get leads online. I want to teach people how to set up their marketing systems. I want to teach people how to set up e-commerce stores, all that stuff. I am driven to teach men how to do that. The only reason I do this Magnetic Men Club stuff is because 3 years ago, I was a whole different person. I hated who I was. I was so depressed. I was so down in the dumps all the time. And I fixed it and I solved it for myself. And it just took a few steps here and a few steps there. It took reading this book here, this book there, starting to understand myself, why I was struggling and what I needed to overcome it. And that's why I joined forces with Jared, because he was somebody on the same mission. I'm like, okay, dude, we can help each other build this stuff up. We can help other men. And we realized that like, that's something we're really passionate about, because I believe that if we can help other men become their best selves, they'll go on to change the world. They'll go on to make the world better. They'll fix the world.
Yep. I believe that
too. That's why we're doing it. So that's just something I wanted to share with you guys, more about our mission and our passion and our story and why we're here and what we're doing. I will be making more videos for this channel as we move forward. I'm going to start making a ton more TikTok content so you guys can consume this in smaller chunks too. So you guys will see that stuff coming. We've got the course coming up, and everybody who's in our low ticket membership gets access to that. So book a call with us, find out more about that, find out more about how you can start working with us. It's all free. Don't worry. We're not going to charge you for any of that stuff up front. We will charge you for the course, but it will be a completely reasonable price. So just jump on those calls with us. Let's talk. Let's figure out what you guys need to work on, and we'll get there. But with that, you guys have an amazing weekend.
Yes, sir. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.